Hello and welcome back to another YouTube video. Today I'm doing the patch 13.17 notes, so if you enjoy the content, like and subscribe, and let's get into it. To begin with, this is a relatively large patch. A lot of this is targeted towards competitive play, with a couple of some of the top solo queue performing junglers also being hit to kind of make the game a bit more interesting regarding the jungle. A lot of items also being adjusted, some of them to be a bit more healthy, some of them are just overperforming, so they are also dragging them down. And plus, we're getting a bunch of new cosmic skins, which are pretty nice. So to begin with, Aatrox is having his damage type changed to physical to magic on the passive and on the W. This is to encourage more bruiser playstyles as you get less value out of the lethality of things like Duskblade and Eclipse. Akshan is having his health go up and his armor growth go up by 3 and then 0.5. The AD growth is going down to kind of balance this out. It makes him a bit more durable, a bit less damage. Should still be kind of going towards these crit builds of like Collector and IE. Blitzcrank is having his kit changed to be more encouraging towards this, like the old Blitz support, which we used to see, where he had no on hit on the W, and he was a lot more encouraged to be played as just a support rather than as a jungler and possible laner. So his base health is going up, magic resist is going up, attack speed is going down, same with the ratio. The shield strength is just being changed to a flat 50% maximum mana. W is going down by 10 mana cost. The attack speed is going to be going down as well. The E power fist is going to be, wait, this is listed incorrectly. It's going down. I don't know why it's being listed as this way around. The E power fist is going to be having its AD ratio restored to plus 25%. Mana cost is also going to be going down. The W should also have the attack, the on hit being taken off of it. The E is no longer going to do bonus damage towards monsters and minions, and the R is going to be changed so it has 2% maximum mana scaling. Some of the things are missing off the notes here, but overall it's just to try and make him more of a simplistic support rather than being able to go into things like the jungle and possible solo laner. Elise is having her spider basic attack buffed. She's also having her on hit buffed on the basic attacks as well. The E cocoon is going to be buffed, so it's 1.6 to 2 to 1.6 to 2.4, which is just a late game buff. This isn't going to do a huge amount. You're not suddenly going to max E second. So overall, fairly small change. Should just help Elise a bit more in low elo. Na is having his damage increased on the Q boulder toss, which is going up by 20 at all ranks. This is a really big buff. And the W is also going to be gaining 20 damage at all ranks. These are huge Gnar buffs, especially with items getting a lot stronger for him as well, with buffs towards Sterix and Triforce. Overall, Gnar should be really well postured in the meta and should actually be performant within solo queue as well. Hecarim is going to be having his kit changed to encourage not needing Manamune as often, and his W is going to be nerfed in compensation to be less bursty and not have an AD ratio on it. This should also help. This should also discourage him from being as glass cannon and more towards the Spirit of Shojin and Triforce build. Kayn is having his AD ratio, AD ratio nerfed. It's going from 130% bonus AD to 110% bonus AD. But Kayn is now having new mean, you have new mana bar and mana bar. Kayn now restores himself to maximum health and mana upon transforming into Shadow Assassin or Darken Slayer. This is a pretty big change because a lot of people would stand on the edge of Fountain to get, still continue to get the bonuses whilst transforming. Kha'Zix is having his QAD ratio decreased by 5%. This is going to be doubled in isolation, so it's a relatively large change towards Kha'Zix. Nerfs is close speed and one-shot potential. Kindred is having her E slow and percent missing health decreased. Not a huge amount, but it's a pretty core ability towards Kindred, so her ability to chase and fast targets as well. Lux is having her mana regen decreased by 1. Her passive is going to be going up by 10 at all ranks and have a 5% AP ratio slapped on top of it. The Q is going to have its cooldown go from 11 seconds to 11 to 9. This should encourage Q max second on Lux because a lot of people started doing W max. And her E damage is going to be lowered by 5 at all ranks on the scaling. So trying to buff her towards mid lane should be pretty good towards Lux mid. Neferi is getting a bunch of nerfs targeted towards mainly top lane, that these also do harder in the mid lane. Base health is going down, the cooldown on the dogs is also going down, and the dogs take more damage from melee attacks. The Q is going to be losing damage and healing. The E is also going to be losing a bunch of damage, and that's kind of like where the nerfs are. Gonna be losing a lot of damage and a lot of upfront burst, along with a bit of healing, 20 at max rank on the Q. So gonna hurt Neferi definitely. Should still be in an alright spot, however, a bit more balance for solo Q definitely. Oriana is having her health growth buffed by 5, relatively minor change, and her W is going to be gaining a big change of 10 to 30 damage increase on it. This is where a lot of her power is going to lie now, and should put Oriana in a really good spot. Definitely going to see her in competitive with a change like this, and hopefully helps her in solo queue. Quinn is having her health growth increase, but is going to be losing a lot of damage on her Q, 20 at max rank on that, and 20 damage on her E. These are significantly bigger nerfs to Quinn than Akshan, and should actually hurt Quinn quite a lot, because this is going to be a 40 damage at level 13, I believe. This should be a actually I believe you max Q into E into W. However, it might be W max first. I can't remember. Haven't played Quinn in a while. But yeah, overall, just a bit of a nerf down towards her all-in combo, so should hurt her, and just hurts her scaling in general, even with a bit of buff to it. Samira is going to be gaining 30 base health. Fairly minor change here, but as Samira is a fairly engage heavy ADC, this is definitely going to help her survive all-ins, and with Shilbo being buffed, definitely going to help her a lot. Tryndamere is having his attack damage go down by 4, but is going to have his attack range go up by 50. This is interesting because originally this was just going to be 25 attack range increase, but they're opting to make it 50, and they're going to be nerfing his attack damage by 4, which is a large amount on Tryndamere, so it should be fairly even. This is definitely an elite skewed buff though, so gonna hurt Tryndamere in low elo. Twisted, well, like more than high, definitely. Twisted Fate is going to be having his Q AP ratio go up by 10% from 80 to 90%. Really high AP ratio, so we should definitely be starting to see things like Night Harvester Twisted Fate possibly come up, rather than some of the Lost Chapter builds, because he also got a buff towards his W, where I believe the mana cost went down by 30. So you can start opting towards this if you're taking things like D-Ring, Mana, and Mana Flow, and I believe if you can also pick up, like you manage your waves correctly, then it can also function quite well within that. Vex is having her Q base damage go up by 10 at all ranks. The cooldown on W is going to be going from 20 to 12 to 16 to 12. Relatively big changes towards Vex. This is definitely going to help her all in and just poke damage, and the W going down makes it a lot more of a valuable tool to just have uptime on it. If you opt into a bit of CDR, then you can possibly rotate this quite comfortably twice during a fight, and that is a big buff towards Vex. We have to see where this lands, because there is a chance that this does make her borderline overpowered, or possibly just overpowered and able to compete with some of the best in mid lane at the moment. Vi has been a bit of a pro problem for a bit. Her shield is going to go up by 2%. This is a partial revert on a nerf she received not too long ago. However, this was 13%. W denting blows. The passive cooldown reduction is going to go from 3 seconds to 4 seconds, so more uptime on the shield. The E is going to be losing 2 seconds on the cooldown, which is pretty big. More uptime on this is definitely going to help it. And R is going to be losing 100 damage at max rank, and loses 20% of the bonus AD ratio. So this should be a relatively big buff towards Vi, especially if she's able to itemize some of the bruiser items, and with things like Shojin getting buffed, there's a chance she starts running it, definitely. Xerath is going to have his base mana regen go down from 8 to 6.85. Why this isn't 7? No, kind of weird. Passive mana surge is going to have its cooldown refunded on unit kill go from 2 seconds to 2.5, and the mana cost is going to go on his W is going to go from 70 to 110 to 80 to 120. So kind of evens out. Better for Xerath mid, worse for Xerath support. Xin Zhao is having his passive heal go up. It's going to go from 6 to 74 with a 10% AD ratio to 3 to 4% with no AD ratio. Should be better for Bruiser Xin Zhao. I don't suddenly think this is going to propel him into the meta. He's a relatively weak champ as is at the moment, so we'll have to wait and see. Zoe is going to have her health regen go up by 1, and E is going to be a 30% shred at all ranks. These are relatively big buffs towards Zoe support, and should be pretty good for Zoe mid as well. Overall, puts her in a good spot coming into Worlds, so we should see Zoe as well. Items. Bloodfaster is having its AD bonus health requirements for AD go up from 50% to 70%. pretty big enough because the things like Yasuo and Yon are definitely going to be tagged by this as they struggle to maintain that struggle to maintain that 70% health threshold as easy as a lot of the ranged champions. Same goes for Samira, same goes for Nyla. A lot of these all-in champions will definitely be tagged by this. A lot less for like some of the ranged options, but we'll see. Duskblade is going to be nerfed, so it's no longer going to be able to deny ignite, and this is the main one. No longer makes the owner immune to damage while untargetable, but destroys incoming non-tower projectiles. So an adjustment, but more of a nerf, if anything. Even Shroud receiving quite a big nerf here, going from 10% to 7% on the damage amplification. Gold Drinker is going to have its health increased by 100, and the path is going to be changed to include a Phage instead of a Warhammer. Immortal Shilpo is going to be having its shield buffed by 75 at level 1. Level 11 when you pick this item up. So pretty big buff there. Definitely going to help it as an earlier pickup with some of the other items it competes against. Spiritual Trojan is going to be having its attack damage go down by 5. The health is going to be going up by 150, however. And the passive's basically being buffed early game and a slight nerf after 200 bonus AD. So should be power positive for the item. Main kind of takeaway from this is that I believe Jarvan is going to be broken next patch. Definitely play Jarvan jungle. He is going to be stupidly broken with Stridebreaker and Gore Drinker as really solid options. Static Shiv is going to be having its AP ratio split by 15%. Gonna hurt the LeBlanc build. That's basically the only person who's going to be affected by this past Kaiser. Yeah, I think these are the only two champs which actively build the item at the moment, but both of them are relatively strong within competitive scenes, so quite a well-needed nerf. Does a bit towards Varus, but Varus can still go like 80 and other on-hit options, so shouldn't be too bad there. Stridebreaker can have its health increased by 75. This is the sleeper OP item at the moment, I believe. 75 health sets onto a really good item in the current game. Should make this item really strong. Don't sleep on it. Definitely consider building it. A lot of champs can really abuse this. Anything from Renekton to Garen to Jarvan to Nocturne. All these champions going to be mega broken. Same goes for Tryndamere as well. Actually, another really good Stridebreaker user. Don't sleep on it. Build it. Futures Market is going to have its stat change, so it's going to start at 100 instead of 145, and it's going to be buffed from 5 per minute to 8 per minute. And catch-up experience is being changed, so it's now rounded up, so it's gonna be more painful to catch back up in levels if you are like a small amount behind, I believe. I think that's how it like kind of lines up. Freak did a kind of like talk on this to like put into numbers perspective. They're adding a patient bar towards Dragon, which is really good, a very needed change. A bunch of ARAM adjustments. Essence Emporium, really big, coming back on September the 6th. Yeah, new champion icons, 250 RP each, a couple of bug fixes and quality of life changes, and then a bunch of new skins. Belveth, Nautilus, Scion, Noonan Willem, and an absolute scam of a Jhin skin. Yeah, I don't know why it's 200. Don't buy it. It's a red chroma. I mean, it's cool, but not 200 quid. Well, yeah, don't do it. But yeah, if you enjoy the content, like, subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.